So until a few days ago, I had absolutely no idea what this little bell symbol in the upper right of the YouTube page was for. But now I know it's the button that lights up when a 15-year-old from Texas with an anime avatar calls you an autistic retard. So, great feature there, YouTube. Thanks a lot for that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to make any more videos about specific CinemaSins sin videos. The only reason I was able to make videos for Fury Road and Empire Strikes Back is because I really love those movies and I've seen them tons of times. So it was very easy for me to spot all of the mistakes that CinemaSins made in their videos. If you think I'm going to sit here and watch Maze Runner The Scorch Trials just to check if CinemaSins lied about anything in their video, you need to get your fucking head checked. I don't know though, I might do another one in future, who knows. Until then though, I've just made this little discussion video explaining my thoughts about CinemaSins, like generally what I think they get wrong, and responding to a little bit of the criticism I got on the last two videos. So, here we go. Now, when I watch CinemaSins videos, I divide their sins into 4 categories, and I've got things they're wrong about by accident, things they're wrong about on purpose, jokes, and begrudgingly legitimate criticisms. But let me just... there we go, that's a little bit more realistic. There's something still missing though. There we go, perfect. But I've seen it argued that all CinemaSins videos are all meant to be jokes. None of the sins are attempts at criticism. I disagree there. I don't think that's true at all, but I actually have no problem with someone watching CinemaSins videos for the jokes. I mean, if that's you and you're watching understanding that it's not legitimate criticism and you're just watching because you think it's funny or whatever, go nuts. CinemaSins humour really isn't my cup of tea personally, but if you're into it, best of luck to you. Have a great life. One thing though is that I've seen people arguing that the videos are satire, and I'm not sure they're using that word correctly. That satire has to be of something else. And I don't know what CinemaSins videos are supposed to be satirizing. They're certainly not satirizing the movies. For instance, this is satire. Wow, these stormtroopers really can't shoot for shit. We never see them hit anything in any of the Star Wars movies. Leia survives being shot. Blaster pistol ex machina.
I love you.
One character tells another character that they love them, cliché. Force of gravity affects objects, cliché. Also, this bitch still isn't doing a lap dance. Ex machina. Cliché. Now, I expect any CinemaSins fan, being a fan of modern literary criticism, will be more than intimately familiar with Roland Barthes' 1967 essay, The Death of the Author, so I won't bother reciting that here. Suffice it to say, it doesn't actually matter what CinemaSins' intent behind making their videos is, so long as some folks are taking it as legitimate criticism. You only have to look at their YouTube comments to find examples of people using the videos to form opinions about the movies. For example, Lamont Billingsley, who said, "This movie look dumb lol." Niles Black, who opens his message with, "I always watch CinemaSins first to determine whether to watch a movie." Judine McPherson, who says, "Ah, sigh, another movie I loved, ruined by CinemaSins." This one I put in here, this doesn't really prove my point. This guy just sounds like he wants to fuck the CinemaSins guy, and I think they should probably call the police on him. Sawashburn0529. This video makes me glad I didn't waste my time seeing the movie. That last one I took from their video about the movie Snowpiercer, and now I'm not saying Snowpiercer is necessarily a brilliant film or anything. I'm not here to judge it. I think it's okay, but I picked it to talk about here because it has a very obvious metaphorical reading that is completely missed by CinemaSins. Very briefly then, Snowpiercer is set in a world where some sort of ecological disaster causes a new ice age, and the only known survivors are the passengers on a train that has a perpetual motion engine, and it runs on a big circular track. The passengers are divided into classes based on what train car they inhabit, with the poor characters confined to the back of the train and the privileged rich at the front. The story follows a rebellion of the poor population as they try to take the train over. And as they move up the train, they witness the huge gulf in the quality of life between rich and poor. They see how the youth are indoctrinated to perpetuate the unfair system, and ultimately the leader of the rebellion chooses to destroy the train rather than become the new dictator. All this can very obviously, you'd think, be read as a critique of unequal human societies. You've got metaphorical stand-ins for the poor who do all the work, the rich who take all the profit, the police who protect them, a media that enforces the status quo. The reason I'm not too excited about Snowpiercer personally is because I think the underlying message is a little bit too obvious. And a perpetual motion machine train thing that runs indefinitely is obviously an impossible thing to exist. We see it crashing through big ice walls and nearly coming off the rails, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense for the train to still be running, but that doesn't mean that it's a mistake or a sin on behalf of the filmmakers. If you watched Snowpiercer and came away saying, "Oh my god, how could the train keep going?" then congratulations, you nearly got the point. Because this isn't just a train. I'm just going to interrupt myself there very briefly to point out this image. So I said to Jen, can you please make me an image for the video? Could you make me the treachery of images except using a train instead of a pipe? And she said sure. And sent me this shoddy piece of shit. Jen has 2 art degrees, by the way. They're really paying for themselves, those things, aren't they? Anyway, back to whatever I was saying. The fact that the train keeps running, despite it seeming impossible, is exactly the point. It will always run until the people in it choose to reject the unfair system. Because this isn't a real train. It's a fictionalized representation of a train, sure, but that's not all. It's also a metaphorical representation of a human society, and this gives it certain characteristics within the narrative that transcend what is literally physically possible in actual reality. Now, with all that in mind, consider the following.
Entire movie will gloss over how this train is able to operate with frozen track conditions. This train's been running the same tracks and same bridges for 18 years in frigid temperatures. Here's yet another reason why this train could not stay in motion for 18 years in a row. This train goes far off the tracks and somehow does not derail.
Wilford's miracle train is self-sustaining.
That's literally all they say about
and so on and so forth. You get the point. This is the real problem with CinemaSins' approach to movie criticism. They seem unable or unwilling to engage with the movie on anything other than a completely literal level. Any sort of symbolism or metaphorical meaning is either ignored or missed by them. And I'm not just talking about the Sin videos here. I went and watched their actual movie review of Snowpiercer, and they say they liked it and they like certain actors and scenes and so on, but they never talk about what they think the movie means in anything other than a completely literal sense. Now, the problem with this sort of thing, CinemaSins fan who is in on the joke is that certain people, like our old friend Soashburn0529 back there, they're not as up to speed as you and me. And they think that this incorrect, nitpicky style of video, they're taking that as legitimate criticism, and they've chosen not to watch the movie based on this information. CinemaSins have sort of conned them out of seeing a fairly decent action movie, which is it's almost a crime. Is it a crime to lie about a movie on the internet? One thing I don't understand about the argument that all of CinemaSins' mistakes are intentional jokes is that they do appear to own up when they notice that they've made a mistake. Like in the following clip from their video on Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Why is this the one and only time in all 8 movies when 2 people who need to talk to each other while in separate places use this fireplace phone?
Now, what CinemaSins did there was they just reckoned that was the only time anyone uses the fireplace phone, and they didn't go and check. They just put the sin in the video and thought, oh, whatever, we're probably right. We shouldn't, for instance, watch the next film in the series in which that same character uses a fireplace to talk to Harry, admittedly with much cheaper CGI. The funny thing here is when CinemaSins came to do their sin video on the next film in the series, they noticed that they'd made a mistake in the last video.
Oh, look, he does use the fireplace phone again. I stand corrected.
There you go. I stand corrected. These mistakes aren't parody or satire. They're just mistakes made because CinemaSins can't be bothered to go and check if what they're saying is right or not. And the thing is, you can click on nearly any CinemaSins video and very quickly find a point in which, like that Harry Potter sin, they were just wrong in something they were saying. But who's got the time to do that? Me. I do. It's me. So in the James Bond movie Spectre, Bond has previously assassinated a member of Spectre and stolen his secret ring thing, and then he goes to infiltrate a Spectre meeting. The guard asks his name, and Bond sarcastically replies Mickey Mouse before flashing the ring and being let inside. This prompts CinemaSins to say,
Once again, super secret organization doesn't require basic identity protocols, like knowing what a member's face looks like. They don't even remember that one of their guys was killed in Mexico City and that any asshole could have a ring. F*** off.
But if CinemaSins had watched the next 10 seconds of the movie, they would have seen the explanation for how Bond got inside so easily. One of the guards gives a signal to another guard who gets on his phone and starts calling someone, because this was a trap for Bond. They know who he is and they let him in on purpose. They're calling Blofeld to let him know that Bond has arrived. And the trap is actually revealed to Bond in this scene, when the guard who let him in reappears behind him.
Ciao, Mickey Mouse.
It Follows is a horror film about protagonist Jay and a group of her friends all trying to run away from a sexually transmitted ghost demon thing that can take the form of anyone, including people that they know. In this scene, the ghost appears as one of the main character's mothers in order to get close to them, and this prompts CinemaSins to say,
This is the only time the ghost appears as someone the infected person knows, because he's not the main character.
Except, of course, for when the ghost appears as the character Greg, as the character Yara, and as the main character Jay's father. Now, what's the story with this? I mean, we know that CinemaSins didn't miss any of these appearances of the ghost because they feature all 3 in different sins in their video. So did they just not notice? For instance, when the ghost shows up looking like the main character's best friend in a scene where that character is also present? Were CinemaSins like, why are there two Yaras all of a sudden? I don't know. In the film Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, an evil organization called the Syndicate wants to assassinate the Austrian Chancellor. And they send 3 assassins to kill him in an opera house. And they also plant a car bomb in his car in case the assassins fail. CinemaSins has a bit of a problem with this.
Also, if the Syndicate could kill the Chancellor like this, then why did they even bother hiring 3 assassins to do the job in the Opera House? Also, while the preceding opera scene was amazeballs, it's now rendered almost 100% moot. Awesome.
What they missed is that the Syndicate isn't just trying to kill the Austrian Chancellor in this scene. They're testing the loyalty of one of their members, called Ilse Faust, who is actually a secret undercover MI6 agent. The other 2 assassins were sent with her to kill her if she didn't kill the Chancellor. This is all explained in the following scene through the dialogue.
What were you doing at the opera tonight?
What, aside from killing the Chancellor?
Saving your life in London put me in a tight spot with some very dangerous people. I was sent to kill the Chancellor to regain their trust.
You're not going to believe that, are you? What about the rest of her team?
You mean those other 2 idiots? I can only assume they were redundancies.
In case you didn't follow through, 1 man to kill the Chancellor, the other one to kill you. A test. And the car bomb was insurance.
So how did CinemaSins miss this scene, which is just the direct explanation for all of the things they didn't understand in the last scene? Well, the truth is they didn't miss it because they give it a sin. They just cut out most of the dialogue and they only use that car bomb line at the end there.
The car bomb was insurance.
Sure it was. I still don't know why you don't just explode the guy in the first place.
Why don't you just explode the guy in the first place? I don't know, because I deliberately edited out the answer to that question. Because, well, to be honest, I don't always notice enough sins in a movie to make the video the right length to ensure optimal watch percentage ratios. And I need to keep making money off of YouTube, you understand. So sometimes I just make shit up to put in the videos. That's quoting the CinemaSins guy there, apparently. Their video for Captain America the Winter Soldier has a few good ones in it. For instance, this scene where Captain America goes to visit his really old ex-girlfriend.
The best that we can do is to start over.
Cap just happens to visit his would-have-been girlfriend right before her imminent death.
Imminent death? You know, she doesn't die. She doesn't die in this entire movie. She just coughs. She doesn't die until the next one. What the fuck are they talking about? And in this scene where Captain America fights the leader of a group of mercenaries who've taken over a ship.
What the f*** is going on? Is Cap not a super soldier with super strength? Cap went toe-to-toe with f***ing Iron Man in the Avengers, so why are regular human dudes suddenly a match for him?
First of all, Captain America completely wipes the floor with the guy about 2 seconds after CinemaSins' clip cuts off. Second of all, and this is the real annoying thing about this sin, you guys didn't recognize who that was, did you, CinemaSins people? Regular human dude? You think that guy's just a regular dude? You don't know who that actor is, do you? You nerds. Now, the amazing thing about all of those mistakes is they're all just off the top of my head while randomly clicking through CinemaSins videos of movies that I've already seen. I mean, I haven't watched half of the movies that CinemaSins have put videos out for, so God knows what they're making up in all of those. But just to close this video out, if you want a demonstration of exactly how much the CinemaSins people know about movies, I recommend watching a video they put out on the CinemaSins Jeremy channel entitled Dear Hollywood, Captain America 3 vs Batman v Superman.
Dear Hollywood, specifically Dear Marvel, So I heard Captain America 3 is going to hold its ground and go head-to-head with Batman vs. Superman. Have you lost your goddamn mind? Look, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. No one gives a shit about Captain America. Batman and Superman in the same movie, almost certainly fighting each other. Game over. You lose. Sure, you'll make some money. I mean, Marvel fanboys have adopted the Captain America movies like a mentally challenged cousin. But you'll lose the weekend for certain. You could recast Cap with Robert Downey Jr. and bring in Christopher Nolan to direct, and you'd still lose the weekend. They could bring in Ashton Kutcher and Corey Feldman as Batman and Superman with Brett Ratner directing, and you'd still lose the weekend. Hell, they could let Uwe Boll direct that shit, and it would still beat Cap 3 at the box office.